Hello and a very warm welcome to Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Well, the winter session of Parliament was adjourned sine die earlier today, and we saw in the Lok Sabha at least some work being transacted in the form of the disability bill being passed, whereas the Rajya Sabha once again saw no work as usual. This winter session of Parliament, of course, has seen productivity at an almost all-time low. We saw that the Lok Sabha was only productive 15%, whereas the Rajya Sabha was about 17% productive this time around. On this edition of The Big Picture, we will discuss the winter session of Parliament and analyse what went on during the 22 sittings of both houses of Parliament. Joining me on the program today are Bhupendra Yadav, MP Rajya Sabha BJP, Gaurav Gogoi, MP Congress, Ritabrata Banerjee, MP Rajya Sabha CPIM, and Parsa Venkatesh Rao Jr., senior journalist. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me on the program. Bhupendra Yadav, I'd like to start with you, of course, and hear your side of the story. Of course, the opposition benches have been accusing the Treasury benches of creating something that has been unprecedented and something that they have never seen in the history of Indian Parliament, where the BJP or the Treasury benches were seen chanting slogans and disrupting the House is what the opposition's charge is against you.
In the present session, even because I belong to Rajya Sabha, so I am more tell you about the story of Rajya Sabha. At the first day, they are giving a notice under Rule 267. In Rule 267, the opposition demanded that you suspend all the work and start on the discussion on demonetization. And government is ready. Even the whole day there was a discussion. The next day, the House was interrupted by the opposition party's member of parliaments. Next day, Prime Minister will come in the question hour. They say we want to start just now. We say yes, let us start the discussion. We also wants to hear you. Then Manmohan Singh spoke. Other persons were spoke. When the number of BJP persons come, again they started noising and they disturbed the house. And so many times, it is upon the opposition party member of parliament. They came to well. No Treasury member come to the well. They are always coming in the well. Even they don't know why they are disturbing the house. I want to say and I want to add here one thing, that in the legislative business, it is necessary that you can raise your voice against the Treasury bench or against the government. It is a hallmark of the vigilance. Yes, you can. But let us you show your wisdom that when you want to be stopped. Who tell to the opposition that what they will gain in future for disturbing the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha both?
Indeed. All right. Let me bring in Gaurav Gogoi into the picture. Gaurav, the BJP and the Treasury benches have been suggesting all through the winter session of Parliament that the opposition does not really have anything concrete to say on the floor of the House, and that's why they were disrupting proceedings in Parliament. They had their say in the beginning, but later on did not allow members of the ruling party to have their say in Parliament.
I think the ruling party has forgotten that the mandate of running the Parliament rests with the ruling party. And instead of having created an atmosphere of consensus and debate on a very important issue of demonetization, in which around 100 people have lost their lives, rural incomes have been hit, the economy is slowing down, the confidence in banks and RBI is decreasing, we did not have a debate and we did not see this climate. There are two houses in the Parliament. In the upper house, let me remind my esteemed colleague that what did the Union Finance Minister Arun Jaitley said? He said that the Prime Minister will be present in the House and will listen to the opposition parties. But after the speeches of Naresh Agarwalji, Dr. Manmohan Singh, it seemed as if the Prime Minister was in no mood to listen and he left. It is an insult to the Parliament when you have the Prime Minister speaking on this grave issue everywhere else, making statements at rock concerts, and then making charges against the opposition, but then not coming to the opposition and listening to their views in the upper house. In the lower house, I want to ask the ruling party, what excuse do they have for not allowing a single days of debate? The ruling party is in a majority. The number of legislators that the BJP has in the Lok Sabha is far greater. In the past, the ruling party has passed bills in a din. It has had ministers make statements in a din. So why in this case, when the opposition was willing to cooperate with you, give you the flexibility of choosing any rule under which you can have a discussion, why did they create an atmosphere where no discussion could take place? Is it because they were insecure that the demonetization, the sentiment that the people have is slowly turning against them? People are seeing that they are unable to withdraw their money from banks, but every day rich people are having caught with 50 lakh, 90 lakh rupees. People were told that you can only withdraw 4,000 rupees, but rich people are having 50 lakh rupees in their cars, in their homes. So it is this kind of failure of implementation and demonetization which has created public anger against the BJP, and that is why the BJP is, I think, insecure about having a debate.
Fair enough.
And was trying to blame the opposition. Please, sir, you are the ruling party, you have come with
Fair
a
enough.
thumping
Okay, point
majority.
taken. Point taken. Let me take what you're saying to Bhupendra Yadav, because he wants to respond to what you're saying. He wants to respond to what you're saying. The onus of running the House, Bhupendra Yadav, is on the government, and it's the government that should ensure that the houses, both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, function smoothly. As far as the Lok Sabha, we heard Gaurav Gogoi saying that, the government did not want to have a discussion where it entailed voting. Why is it so? And like he rightly pointed out, your party has a majority on the floor in the Lok Sabha.
I am replying what saying by Mr. Gaurav Gogoi. He is saying that it is a duty of the government to run the parliament. Yes, but it is a duty of the opposition also to behave properly, not coming in the well, maintain the parliamentary decorum, maintain the decency, and what they want to argue in a proper manner, not coming in the well. Number one. Number second, what opposition party did? They gave a notice for suspension of all other work in the house and started debate. Yes, we accepted it. And I raise a question to Mr. Gogoi. He himself says that Mr. Manmohan Singh was spoke, Mr. Naresh Agrawal was spoke, but what about the member of BJD? What about the member of Shiv Sena? What about the member of Akali Dal? What about the member of AIDMK? What about the member of DMK? What about the member of Telangana party? What about the member of TDS? All small parties members are waiting for their turn. They are not opposing. They are not saying. They are saying we want to speak. But why they are not allowed to speak, all the member of parliament? They themselves speak, then they disturb the house, and they are blaming to us. It is very easy, Mr. Gogoi, to blame the government because you are in opposition. But you are telling the truth to the people. People must know what you are doing wrong, and they know what you are doing.
Okay, fair enough. Ritabrata Banerjee, the entire nation was watching for the last month what was happening in Parliament, and the entire nation was appalled seeing what was happening in Parliament, because let's not forget that Parliament is meant for debate and discussion, not for disruption. That is something that the chairman of the Rajya Sabha also repeatedly said right through the 22 sittings. And we've seen one of the least productive sessions of Parliament over the last 6 years. 15% in the Lok Sabha, almost 16 or 17% in the Rajya Sabha.
See, as Mr. Gogoi had already pointed out, the primary onus of running the House rests with the treasury benches. But we have seen what we have seen. Definitely in Lok Sabha, BJP has been exercising its tyranny of majority in disrupting the House. And in Rajya Sabha, even the treasury benches, it has been registered and recorded, the chair asking why the treasury benches are disrupting the House. And even today, when the House was declared sine die, the honorable chairman, the speech of the chairman, if you look into that, that said the disruption was from both sides, from all sections. So what has been the demand of the opposition? What precisely the opposition was demanding? Precisely on the first day, the discussion started in which members from the treasury benches also spoke and leaders from different political parties spoke. The opposition has been demanding, as the Prime Minister has declared this demonetization thing, let him come to the House, sit in the House, listen to the discussion. The next day, which Mr. Gogoi also mentioned, and my senior colleague Bhupendra Yadav also mentioned, that after Dr. Manmohan Singh spoke, after Naresh Agarwal spoke, there was a break and Prime Minister went away. He never came back.
But the BJP has from the beginning said that the leader of the house is present.
No,
he is
no, no.
listening.
Let me finish.
The Prime Minister will intervene.
Let me finish. Let me remind you also, and let me just reiterate our position that earlier, the opposition earlier, that time BJP was in the opposition in 2013, the December, the winter session was washed. What was the demand? The demand was that the then Prime Minister must come to the House. So Dr. Singh came to the House. He sat for 2 days, listened to the entire discussion, and you must remember, and after that, a joint parliamentary committee has been formed. Why we have been demanding this JPC? The opposition has been demanding this JPC because before the demonetization was announced, BJP in Bengal it happened. BJP unit in Bengal depositing crores of rupees in 500 and 1,000 denominations in the bank. That's why and throughout this entire period when people are dying, more than 125 people have died, people are in terrible condition, people are suffering, you can see from where the money is being recovered. People are not getting 2,000 rupee notes. Banks are saying, even in my locality, I went to a branch there, the branch says the money is not there, only 4,000 rupees for everybody. Whereas you see when you can see in the television, in media, it is coming that crores of rupees, new notes, new currencies, new denominations. Our basic demand was that the Prime Minister must come to the House. He is present in the premises of the House. He must come to the House. He must listen. But that unfortunately has not taken place. And as I once again reiterate our position that the primary onus rests with the Treasury benches in running the House.
Indeed. All right. Mr. Bhupendra Yadav, you wanted to respond to what he's saying? Yeah, I can see you putting up your hand. Go ahead.
Only one sentence. Only one sentence. Only one sentence to my dear friend Ritabrata Banerjee. Prime Minister came at 2 o'clock. He came and sat at 2 o'clock. Even the opposition parties not allowed to run the House. Please see and check the record of the Rajya Sabha.
Okay, fair enough. All right. So both parties were equally involved and equally, responsible for disrupting what happened in Parliament is what Bhupendra Yadav is saying at this point in time. I'd like to get my neutral voice on the program. Parsa Venkatesh Rao, junior senior journalist, into the picture as well. Parsa, we saw something. We saw something what Chairman Hamid Ansari called Jekyll and Hyde kind of behavior in the House. He said when parliamentarians wanted something to be done, they ensured that they got it done. But then they also disrupted or did not allow other members to speak. For instance, the disability bill was passed unanimously in both houses of Parliament.
It is an unfortunate practice in the last few years that whichever party is on opposition makes huge demands, and when they are not met, it feels that it has a right to disrupt. On the other hand, the government resists with all its might whatever is the parliamentary demand. Like in Lok Sabha, we have seen the opposition was demanding that the discussion should take place under a rule which would entail voting, and the government resisted it. It's not the BJP alone that resists this kind of a thing. When Congress was in power, it did the same. And in Rajya Sabha, the demand that the Prime Minister should be present throughout the debate is, I think, a slightly, unnecessary demand, because the Prime Minister will have to answer and intervene based on what the members have said. He cannot do on his own, and there are many ways by which the Prime Minister collects the material of whatever has been spoken in the House and responds to them. So I think it is just a pretext, it looks like, that both sides are willing to let go the debate. I think there are two reasons for this. One of the reasons is that the opposition feels that the mere debate does not make good enough impact on the public, because the debate is arguments are shown, and at the end of the day, the government prevails, whatever might be the criticism by the opposition. The demand for JPC did not come earlier; it came later from the opposition. Secondly, the government's resistance that it would not like to have a debate under the voting provision, I think is very, very biased. And the BJP is not alone to be blamed. Whichever party is in power resists to the last inch that they would not have a debate which would entail voting, as though censure would create a bad image for the party. Basically, I think the politicians from all parties are not serious about the debate for the simple reason they think it will have no impact outside the House, whatever
Sure.
the members have to say.
Fair enough, yeah.
Voting on the debate would give some satisfaction to the opposition, but that is not enough. And even the opposition is not too happy with that voting provision. Whereas I think the government is just wants to hear it out, whatever the opposition parties have to say, and then it knows that its stance would not be affected. I think what we need is a more effective measure by which the opposition can demand that a decision taken by the government can be put to more rigorous scrutiny. And that has to be either in the committee level or the JPC. But the problem is no government will agree to a JPC easily because they think it's some sort of a rebuke to the government's decision.
Sure, fair enough. Yeah, Ritabrata, you
No,
want
I
to
just
counter?
want to, what Mr. Venkateshwar Rao is telling, the demand for JPC was not raised in the beginning. It is not correct. Because on 16th of November, when the debate took place, I remember I was there in the House, our leader Sitaram Yechuri, he specifically on behalf of our party had raised the demand for a JPC, and several other speakers from the opposition had reiterated the demand of JPC. So it is not correct
Okay.
that JPC's demand was taken up later.
Sure, all right, fine. Gaurav Gogoi, your point taken as far as the onus really is on the government to ensure that Parliament functions. But, looking at all these disruptions that have taken place over the last 1 month, what kind of a message really are we sending to the public? Shouldn't parliamentarians, debate and discuss on Parliament's floor first and then probably take the fight outside Parliament? Because we saw the battle really being fought outside Parliament rather than inside the confines of Parliament.
I mean, it is unfortunate. For the last 1 month, I have been actually debating demonetization on every major TV channel, including yours. But I am unable to witness a debate on demonetization within the Lok Sabha, of which I am a part of. And somehow it is even more disheartening that the ruling party, instead of trying to bring all opposition parties together, trying to create a solution out of their deadlock, figuring out a way through which a debate can take place, just remains stuck to a very rigid position that it will not allow a debate in Lok Sabha under any norms. And at the same time, the Prime Minister is going and making public comments against leaders of the opposition, is initially talked about how the opposition is supporting black money and corruption. It is ridiculous. And even today you saw the Prime Minister making a statement at the BJP parliamentary meeting. If the Prime Minister really wants to speak, I think he should speak in a forum where others can also place their views, and especially the views of the opposition party is very important. It is meaningless to have mobile surveys, WhatsApp surveys, Man Ki Baat, internet. Why don't you come to the temple of democracy and make a statement there? I think it was very comical that the Prime Minister said that he is not being allowed to speak inside the parliament. Surely in the Lok Sabha, where the party has a majority, 250 plus MPs of the BJP are there. If the Prime Minister wants to make a statement explaining why he announced demonetization, explaining why he thinks demonetization is working, I don't think anybody would have stopped him. So rather than, coming up and having a structured debate, I think the country missed an historical opportunity and now is left to watching debates on TV channels or having debates via press conferences or political rallies. It is unfortunate. And again, remember, at the end, the ruling party has the onus of running the parliament. If you remember, in the previous government, we tried very hard, and yet on sessions when it got washed out, the ruling party was blamed for the washouts. If in today's scenario, anybody has to take the responsibility of a washout, it should be the ruling party.
Indeed. All right. One of the points that Gaurav Gogoi was making, Parsa, was the fact that, several opposition members also said that the Prime Minister should come to the floor of the House and apologize for some of the statements that he has made outside Parliament. Now, constitutionally, is the Prime Minister bound to come and answer to Parliament for what he has said outside it?
I think it was some sort of a political demand. You know, what happens is the opposition would like to take every opportunity and take every issue up in the House and make the maximal demand. The maximal demand being that the Prime Minister should sit in the House throughout the debate and not move out. Secondly, that he made the statement that the opposition, the Prime Minister's statement was indeed provocative when he said that the opposition was unhappy. He didn't name the opposition, but he said they are unhappy because the black money is being attacked. And by implication, the opposition parties took offense to that. But these are really minor issues, you know. Being a sense of injury, a sense of being slighted is all minor compared to the main issue that it had to be debated. And both the BJP and the opposition parties, I think, did not come to an understanding that the debate should take place. Unfortunately, what happened, the other thing the opposition did was, in their enthusiasm and in their anger, they wanted to use the demonetization issue at every point of the House's proceedings. At one point of time, Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad raised during the 0 hour the issue of the deaths of people who died while standing in the queues and all that. Then the finance minister responded saying that when the debate is taking place on the issue, no other parliamentary procedure should be used to raise the same issue. Now, these are technicalities, you know. I think the issue of the deaths could have been raised during the debate. The Prime Minister would have answered. You know, the problem is the opposition should have compelled the BJP to be in the dock by allowing the debate to go on, by debating whether the Prime Minister was there or not. And the Prime Minister had to intervene. He could not have escaped completely. If he did not answer, then he would have been guilty. If the finance minister answered in his stead, then the opposition could have easily said, look, we have debated, we have raised the questions, the Prime Minister failed to answer. The demand.
So that was a better way of cornering the government.
It was a better way, you know.
Yes.
It was a better way than maximizing, you know, 0 hour, you raise other issues. Now, at one point of time, the corruption charges against the Minister of State for Home, Rajya, took up the thing, and that led to disruption.
Okay.
At another point, the AIDMK and DMK people wanted to disrupt because they had some other issue.
Yes.
You know, these distractions really took away from the main task.
Sure. Gaurav, you wanted to respond to that?
I think it is a bit naive on the presenter's part to say that we should take the government at its face value when in 2 occasions the government has backtracked. Now let me tell you what happened in Lok Sabha. On Lok Sabha last week on Friday, the government in back-channel negotiations with major opposition parties agreed to the opposition's demand of let's have a debate under no rules, which the opposition finally conceded to, as long as Rahul Gandhi ji stood up and spoke at 11 o'clock. Now what happened last week on Friday? At 11 o'clock, we saw the Treasury members creating a scene, standing up, shouting and forcing the Speaker to adjourn the House. Similarly, in the Rajya Sabha, the Union Finance Minister said that the Prime Minister will sit throughout the discussion and listen to everyone. But after 2 or 3 speeches, the Prime Minister left. So the ruling party has never tried to work in good faith and has only exploited our flexibility. We opposition parties tried very hard to cooperate.
Before I get Bhupendra Yadav to respond to that, since you brought up Rahul Gandhi,
and did
Gaurav Gogoi, since you brought up Rahul Gandhi, why is Rahul Gandhi hell-bent on revealing this damning, proof that he has against the Prime Minister only inside Parliament, when the fight, like I mentioned earlier too, is happening in media channels and happening all over the place? Press conferences were held almost 3 or 4 times a day by different political parties. So why is this information being, held back from the media, and he wants to release this information only inside the House?
That question to me?
Yes, the question is to you.
Well, simply because for the BJP, Twitter, social media, WhatsApp, Man Ki Baat might be more important than the Parliament. But for the Congress party and Rahul Gandhi ji, the Parliament is the utmost primary platform for putting the government to the test of accountability. Rahul Gandhi ji from day one has been saying demonetization is a failure. Rahul Gandhi ji has been saying that the government is not letting him speak. And today, after we saw the antics of the Treasury party, Rahul Gandhi ji has been proven right. The ruling party is simply not willing to let Rahul Gandhi ji place his debate, his points, his substantive information on the parliament record.
Sure.
They are not interested in exposing their prime minister to a debate on demonetization. The BJP, in its interest to protect the prime minister, is try to stall the house and not let Rahul Gandhi ji speak.
I've got 2 minutes left on the program, so I'd like to get closing comments from all my guests. Starting with you, Bhupendra Yadav. The charge against the government is that, the government is not reaching any kind of an understanding, really, is not going the extra mile to ensure that the opposition comes on board and a healthy and a holistic debate takes place in Parliament. Do you agree with that assessment? Why aren't you reaching out really to the opposition? Why aren't those gestures being made to opposition parties?
May I reply?
Yes, please.
Hello?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello? Yeah. When I am hearing to Mr. Gaurav Gogoi, I think that what he wants to say, he say that we are not allowing house to run. It is a duty of government to run the house. We are making an indiscipline, your duty to run the house. And when debate was started on 16th of November, the idea came in the mind of Rahul Gandhi to spoke in the parliament in the first week of December. Before that, Rahul Gandhi never said that I want to participate in the debate. And what he said, if I will speak, the earthquake will come. If you will speak, earthquake will come, then it is a danger to the democracy also. So you will speak outside the parliament. Who stops you? The second thing is, what Mr. Gaurav Gogoi says, it is a very, I think, very hopeless argument in this country that right to expression is not available to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister will address the nation, Prime Minister will address to the people, Prime Minister will address to the political rally. Why they are disputing on that? It is a right to expression is there. That is a constitutional right.
Fair enough.
If you are not,
I'd like to get my other panelists also to the
allow
picture.
the parliament to run, then if you are giving a indisciplined behavior in the parliament, then it is a duty of the opposition also to run to give a proper cooperation to the treasury bench to run a parliament in a proper and smooth manner.
I can see you smiling. You don't agree with anything that Bhupendra Yadav, your senior colleague, is saying. Very quickly, yeah. Because I have limited time.
We believe that monologue has no place in democracy. If you want to substitute dialogue with monologue, what are the effects we can see? Obviously, the Prime Minister can go on speak in rock concerts, he can speak in Man Ki Baat, but he needs to come and speak in the Parliament too, when such a decision was announced by him. Now the point is
then
the Treasury benches has been
allowed to Sitaram to speak.
The rigidity,
why you are not allowing to small party to
the
speak?
utmost rigidity that has been shown by the Treasury benches, and we have seen on one house there is a tyranny of its majority, and the other they are disrupting the house.
Party to speak in the parliament
before we have a political debate on our program now, I'd like to get you into the picture, of course. Several crucial bills were supposed to be taken up in this session of Parliament. Those haven't been taken up, 3 of them being, the supplementary GST bills. What's going to happen to all of those bills? What's going to happen to some of these crucial bills that people have their eyes on?
I think legislation is the one thing that gets affected badly because of the political battles between the two sides. I think the opposition can be obdurate, and this is not the fault of this opposition only. BJP was as obdurate and as mischievous as when it was in the opposition. I think each one is playing the game. I think basically they have no respect for parliamentary debate. They are not interested in parliamentary debate. They want to score brownie points, both sides, not just one side. And they think, and I think BJP needs to show greater respect to the opposition than it has been showing.
All right. On that note, I'll have to call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. Bhupendra Yadav, Gaurav Gogoi, Ritabrata Banerjee and Parsa Venkatesh Rao Jr. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. That's all the time we have. Thank you so much for watching.